A new week means a new top 6, top 4 college football playoff rankings. And there has been some changes. This is not going to be the situation where we just sort of read off what we had last week and tell you, hey, business as usual, go on about your day. We got some shakeups here. And the College Football Playoff Committee, quite frankly, I don't agree with how they do it. They're going to wait till November to tell you what they think. We're going to tell you the real right now. And we're going to get into it going from 6 all the way up to 1. Start with our first 2 out, work into the top 4, and give you our unfiltered thoughts on these programs and how this college football playoff race stands right now. Now, I say this every single time. I'll say it again. These will look different in a few weeks than they do today. So if your program isn't on here, it's okay. There's a lot of ball left to be played. If your program is lower than you would like them to be, odds are they have some big games coming up. They're going to have a chance to move up big time. So the regular season has a funny way of always getting, in my opinion, the best teams in position to compete for the playoff. I'll leave it at that. At number 6, down from a spot a week ago, we got Michigan. Michigan beat Indiana 31-10. They played with their foot a little bit in the first half. I understand Mike Hart had a scare on the sideline. I don't want to downplay that. I think that impacts the team's psyche. But with what we expect from Michigan, would have liked to see them be a little bit more dominant throughout 4 quarters. Now, they still control their own destiny, obviously, having not lost a game yet. They have a huge game this coming week with Penn State at home. If they win that game, we'll see how they shake out in the rankings based on what everybody else does throughout the college football landscape. But this will be a very telling test for Michigan because they've played some teams that are the Power 5 caliber. They've had some sneaky games going to Iowa. I'm telling you, Penn State is going to be the game that sort of peels back the curtain on Michigan and lets us know exactly just how good they can be and just how heavily they compete for the college football playoff. They're at number 6 for us this week. At number 5, a team that jumped 2 spots from a week ago. In fact, they were at number 7 for us, so we didn't even talk about them this time last week. The Tennessee Volunteers. Rocky Top is on top right now, and they are rolling. 3, count them, 3 ranked wins. I'd put their resume up against just about anybody in the country right now. Looked dominant against LSU, like we already talked about on this program, 40-13. They can score with anybody. Now, they play Bama this coming week. College game days popping off again in Knoxville. Hope Coach Corso's there. You'll have Kirk Herbstreit there. You got Pat McAfee there. You might even have the Bear there. It's going to be a good time in Knoxville. That game will be impactful, to say the least, for Tennessee and what they do the rest of the season. So very, very excited for that game. There is no way to overstate my excitement for that game. There's no way to overstate the implications for that game for both teams. But for Tennessee, they are knocking on the doorstep. Don't be surprised if they kick that thing down. At number 4, same spot that we were a week ago, we got Clemson 31-3 over Boston College at Boston College. Always impressive. I like where they are. No need to really change them just yet. Now, they go to Florida State this coming week. And the whole conversation around Clemson obviously goes back to DJ. He's proven the haters wrong multiple times. Would have liked to see him be just a touch more efficient yesterday, like 56% passing. I'm not overly concerned. He's still the guy for them, gives them the best chance to win. And you just hope that he continues to progress and play the way that he has. Because if he reverts to 2021 DJ, well, then it can all fall apart real quick. But as of this week, Clemson stays number 4 for us in our college football playoff rankings. At number 3, same spot as a week ago, Georgia. Now, they handled Auburn 42-10. A little bit slower start than you would like. You'd like to see them be dominant the entirety of the game. They were up only 14-0 at half. I'm not freaking out too much about it because we know that Georgia has that on switch, and when they flip it on, they're dangerous. And the thing that concerns me a little bit is we have seen Georgia at many a time have that switch only like halfway on. Like, yeah, the defense plays well. Offense will sort of score here and there, but they're not just dominant. Like that team that we saw week 1 against Oregon that did just unspeakable things to the Ducks in Mercedes-Benz, that's the team that I think is very much still out there. And so maybe it's a matter of you need a logo to get your attention. maybe it's a matter of still gaining experience on the defensive side of things or having somebody on the outside at receiver step up. I think it's still out there. I think they're capable, but I need to see a little bit more dominance from them. And you're saying 42-10, they covered the spread. You want to see more than that? Yeah, I do. It's top 3 teams in the country, all right? We're not saying they're a number 24 ranked team. I'm just saying for them to get past these other top 2 teams, I'd like to see a little bit more of a definitive win. Now, they have some big games coming up. They play Florida, and they get Tennessee at home. Before that, they have Vanderbilt, and they have a bye. So Florida and Tennessee will be the 2 big games where I'm saying, all right, Georgia, you got the logos that you want. You probably have the rivalries that you want. Turn it on. Show us something. Excited to watch those games. But again, Georgia at number 3 for us this week in our rankings. At number 2, we got Alabama. Don't want to spend too much time on this. We already talked about them. 124-20 over Texas A&M. When they get Bryce Young back, that'll be a very big deal. They're down a spot from last week. They were number 1 last week. They're now number 2. And I'm not knocking them so much for not having Bryce Young. I'm knocking them because of what we saw in the secondary, because of what we saw on special teams, and because of what we saw them not do that looked Bama-like, if that makes sense. Now, maybe you say, well, you get Bryce Young back and that changes the whole conversation. That's fair, but guess what? We're going to get to see. Because like we already mentioned, they go to Knoxville this week to have themselves a date with the Vols. So that'll tell us a lot. After that, they get Mississippi State, get a bye week, and then go to LSU. So we're going to find out a lot about Alabama here these next few weeks, starting with this game against Tennessee. But for us, they move from number 1 to number 2. So the number 1 team in the country for us is the most dominant football team so far, the most consistent football team so far. They don't play in the SEC. Quite frankly, I don't care. The Ohio State Buckeyes, for me this week, are the best team in the country. And going back to what I said about the SEC, Ohio State doesn't get to control that. They don't get to control that they don't play, Florida this week, or they don't play Tennessee this week. They're just taking care of business. And quite frankly, we've seen Georgia have issues. We've seen Alabama have issues. I haven't seen Ohio State really have issues. And we get some comments in our comment section saying, hey, you don't talk about Ohio State enough. I'm saying, what do you want me to talk about? You want me to break down their 49-20 win over Michigan State? I feel like that's probably wasting your time and my time, right? When there's something to talk about with this team, we're going to talk about it. But for us this week, number 1 team in the country. Now, they go into a bye this following week. And don't be surprised if whoever wins that Tennessee-Alabama game, whatever the outcome of that game is, don't be surprised if that impacts where Ohio State stands this coming week, all right? They don't control the fact they don't play next week, but let's just say if Alabama, for whatever reason, goes out, has a phenomenal game against Tennessee, they will jump Ohio State with the bye week, all right? Just want to make sure that disclaimer's out there. But to recap, at number 6, we got Michigan. Number 5, we have Tennessee. Number 4, we have Clemson. Our 3rd best team in the country is Georgia. Number 2, we have Alabama, down a spot from last week. And the new number 1 team for us here on the Hard Count, the People Show, is the Ohio State Buckeyes. For what it's worth, USC is number 17. It's all going to come out in the wash. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of the Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.